Hi, my name is Ken Atherton. I wrote the Microbiome prescription website. After I posted a link to it, I got a ton of questions. Sometimes people say, okay, how in the world do you use it? That mechanism. The page is a tool responding to a request from a person. The person is in the autism community dealing with a child with autism. And part of their usual set of testing are organic acid tests and other similar tests. And so the result is they see highs and lows of certain chemicals, organic chemicals, and they want to know how to change it. So that was the request to keep me in. Okay, I know this is a problem, but how do I change it? It's not a microbiome shift. It's a product of the microbiome that is desired to be changed. So let's hop over and take a look at what some OATS tests are. I've done a series of blog posts on them, and I'll include those in the page links. So here is the list of blog posts I did over on my Autism Microbiome Prescription.com website. And as you can see, we have things like excess ammonia, and sometimes things are very specific in terms of detail. Scroll down to the next panel. We have more items. This series of blog posts, I went through each one, and from the chemical went over and checked the U.S. National Library of Medicine site to see if we know anything about this particular compound and autism. So it was sort of an in-depth study specifically for autism. If you're dealing with different conditions, you may need to do the same type of search yourself if you want to do due diligence. So that's an example of one of them. Now let's go over to another page, and here we have another page, and as you can see we have even more compounds listed. Again, the request came from a person who wanted to alter certain specific ones, so it was a very targeted request. Still more items, etc. And if you go over one more time, we have even more items. As you can see, we see some items of concern here, too high here, too low there, etc. So it goes on, and nutritional markers, etc. So the OATS test is in the autism community one of the great standards of a basic analysis as to what is happening. For many other conditions, it probably is a helpful analysis of what is happening, especially given that you can now do something about it. The new page will allow you to identify probiotics which may or should theoretically alter those imbalances with metabolites. Again, the construction is a model construction. It has not been proven experimental. It has not been disproven. In fact, I expect nothing in the projection will be disproven at statistical significant levels. There's also complexities to the process in terms of what's happening inside the body. So the predictions may underperform, but I have a high degree of confidence that they are correctly modeled and logically consistent and all working from genetic data, which means that whether or not we verify statistically with a clinical study is a different question. Whether or not it influences, in all probability, yes. So let's go and try finding some of these items. As you can see, there's lots of items and lots of items and lots of items. We do encounter a few issues. We do encounter the issue of cough, 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 different naming, which is a habitual pain. Same chemical may have half a dozen different names, as you will see on the page itself. So it's a matter of finding and matching up, which is unfortunately no easy solution. In theory, if I ever get the time or somebody cares to volunteer to do it, somebody could go and take all these magic OATS numbers and match them across to the list of numbers there, and then I'll be glad to add in that bit of information into the website to make it easier for somebody doing the OATS. So somebody looking to volunteer time and effort, that's what you can do. And so drop me an email that you're starting, so that if there are several people doing it, we can coordinate having different people do different sections or having people cross-check. Okay, let's go over to using it. So let's go and look at the page. Here's what the page looks like. It's right there, easy to access. What we have, which can be overwhelming, is lots of scientific geek speak names. Nothing to do about it. I keep accurate to what the scientific literature uses for terms, which is a lot. And we look at the bottom and we see out 5,300 different chemicals. Fortunately, the page is set up to be reasonable. You can either increase the length of items on the page by going up here. If you want to see all 5,300, you can. But you have the ability to search. You can type a word here and we'll filter the list to be only the words you are looking for. So, with that much said, let's go and start the process. So the first one we look at is tartaric. T-A-R-T-A-R-I-C. Just as, well, literally I just picked one at random to see what showed up on the other. So I'll go over there, I type in tartaric here, and voila, I now end up with 2, 4, 6 different items. Okay, now we see 2 which appears to have almost precise names, and everything else are variations. So those 2 are there. The catch is, what's the difference between R and S tartaric acid? Turns out the difference is one of chemical composition, which isn't reported on the lab test, unfortunately, which one it is. For some amino acids or some products, it's significant, particularly lactic acid. Between R lactic acid and S lactic acid, one is quote unnatural and one is natural. One causes brain fog and one is the normal. So generally, the difference is the chemical is a composition coming down, a complicated one, and you get the same list of chemicals, but they are flipped the other way. So it's left or right twisting of the chemical compound. So they technically become different. Let's see what happens when we go and click on these items. Okay, let's go over and look at decrease. And there we get the list of items that decrease. And this is for the R. And let's go back and look for the S and decrease. There's absolutely nothing that decreased the S, nothing in the list of bacteria which are probiotics bacteria only. There's a reduce of the S variation, the R variation. We have a whole list of items there, and once you go over there and you can take a look at them and say, okay, there now be aware that I'm using the current standard scientific naming for probiotics. So therefore you get this lactoplantarum, blah 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 plantarium, and when you click retail products, you will see the common name there, and you can see who contains it. Now we have a long list of items here. In fact, we have 71 different products containing it. One of the key issues, which I tend to emphasize, is that you really want to use a probiotic which has only those single species in it. If you use multiple ones, you need to check to make sure every single one in the compound is either the page picture. Every single one of these is either in there, and more importantly, if you go back and go over here and do R, then none of them are on the other list. So let's go here again and go back, and none of them are. In this case, it's easy. We only have one type of probiotic which has impact on one of the 2 variations of this metabolite or just organic acid. So we are happy. I mean, this is a simple case, which is, of course, what everybody wants. The simpler it is, the better it is. Okay, so that's a clean, quick walkthrough of one single item. And again, let's go back to the OATS page. Okay, so that was one walkthrough. Let's go back and take a look at that's for markers there, which actually is interesting. Yeast and fungal markers would indicate that the substance which we found, the planetarium, may also be effective for dealing with yeast and fungal. And we can go off and check with that on PubMed and see if we have studies verifying that. Okay, but let's go on to a different page to see different results. Okay, I scanned through the second page. I notice we have something here. Mandelic acid, the person is high. In other words, this is something we want to find a potential consumer. So let's go and transcribe the word across, and we have mandelic again, and we see S or mandelic acid, and of course we have different names there. And we were high, so what we want to do is find items that decrease. So we first click on one, and we have absolutely no luck. Let's go on the other one, and we have exactly one thing which is the consumer of it. And if you click retail products, it'll take it across, and it is found in a combination which has been found in studies with the original formula, lots of caveats with this product because it's gone through some ownership issues, to be effective for IBS, which somewhat overlaps with autism issues, or some people's autism issues. So for the purposes of demonstration, we have found that we can go and work from here, find something that reduces this high. Let's go out and look at, again, these are arbitrary, unscripted, so I have no idea what the result is. We can go and look at this particular one to see if we can find something to increase this one. So going over to the page, I start typing letter in one by one, and the long list starts getting shorter and shorter. Now I ended up not being able to find an exact word, exact match for it. Let's look what we're looking at. We got PROIC. Let's go back. And POI. Now everything disappear. So here, being an ex-chemistry teacher comes in helpful. I realized that what's being referred to would also be known as ATE. ATE and IC and the acids are name conventions, and we don't have an absolute every possible way of doing it. Chemicals are a list of symbols, and different symbols have different subnames, and these long names are compounded from all the subnames. Somewhat like how German works as a language. It's a language full of compounding adverbs, verbs, and nouns to create a object. So same in chemistry. Not surprising because a lot of the early chemistry was done in Germany. So here we have the little thing which we find are probable, if not best match. Let's go back and verify what we are doing. We are low, so we want to increase it. So I type the word, click on the increase, and unfortunately, absolutely no luck. It happens. That's the unfortunate reality, is we do not know. However, we also have one more option. Let's go back and see what increases. Why? Because the person may already be taking a probiotic, which is causing it. And getting nothing. So whatever is happening, it is not in the realm of bacteria which are probiotics. It's happening by other bacteria. And if you have your sample uploaded and go into it, you can identify which bacteria are involved, and thereby go and proceed to change it. In fact, I think at this point in time, since I've shown the back and forth thing enough, let's go in and just go and take a look at it. And I'm going to just copy that to my clipboard for the moment. And now I don't know if this is going to work or not. It depends very much on things. So I'm going to go over to our sample login, go to 16S page, and we have over here, we have component analysis. Component analysis, we have down the bottom, KEGG, compounds, producers, consumers. And there we have a long list. I'm going to type that in. Absolutely no luck. And no luck. In other words, the lab which produces the 16S results does not cover the bacteria that produces this particular chemical, which is unfortunate, but it's one of the reality. So we work with what we are able to identify, and that's the case. So similarly, you can go back to continue on with OATS tests. You can go and take a look at what we looked at before, malonic, and go in and see if we are go over here and again, we don't have any precise match. We have similar things named, but I'm not going to go into it, into whether or not they're the same or not. That is for a biochemist to do. I'm a chemistry teacher, not a biochemist, so I'm not going to go equivalency. But that's the other way of looking at the OATS test result, is to go in, take the name, go into the sample of the persons, and seeing one page, and seeing if it's in the list of items consumed or not. Nice and simple. Interface is built there. Again, the big gotcha is somebody is producing it, and it's being produced by bacteria which is not being reported by the lab. Some cases, what can happen is, I'm going to just go and copy that for the moment. I'm going to see if some of the other labs report the bacteria associated. We have a longer list here. And this one may be a match. Let's go back. Malonic appears to be a match for where is it? Malonic something is related to it. We don't have exact match. That's a variation of it. So you end up doing a lot of back and forth. But if you're dealing with a child with autism or severe disability or another severe condition, it is worth spending the time. You will literally spend hours doing it. I mean, literally hours. I was done doing my reviews, which typically takes about 16 hours to do each. On my blog post to do the analysis. It is time consuming, and which is also why I do it for free, because if I charge people at my actual employment hourly rate, session houses would get expensive for some people, and some of those people can't afford it. So basically, I do the analysis for free. If a person wants to make a donation to my website, if they have the surplus funds to cover operating costs, please do so. But otherwise, it's simply there. And I do try to do perhaps one a week or once every 2 weeks. As I said, it can take 8 to 16 hours to do a single blog post. Doing due diligence, which is probably a lot more effort than most MDs will do with their patients in a year. Okay, so let's go back and recap. OATS tests is where you get a rich collection of data coming from. We have their names, we have the KEGG names of the compound, and we do have a matchups and challenge there. If you have time and you feel like being helpful, go through, identify the OATS numbers, give me the best match or the probable match for items on my page. If it's an item where we have R and S or left and right, then identify to the one of the two which we have data on. It's our best shot in the dark as to what the appropriate thing is. So you get your test results from OATS or other types of labs. It doesn't have to be OATS, but it does need to be organic acid type of salt. We'll go over, proceed to type in the name. Generally, omit things like the numbers, other things. In time, you learn how to translate one thing to the other, and most of the time, the OATS results do not add the numbers in. So you end up with a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes they do. So numbers, find a substance. You have option of 2 items, increase and decrease. Remember, increase and decrease are for probiotics which are available somewhere in the world at the retail level. Keyword, retail level. So in other words, it's possible to find them and get them. And if you do find them, the best is always to do the single strain or single species probiotic, because that way you don't have side effects, as in contradictory results or influence. Information is there. Enjoy, and that's it. Again, if somebody who feels they have some time on their hand, I would love to get a mapping. Send it to me as an Excel file between these OATS numbers and the numbers used and the names used from KEGG. It will make everybody's life simpler, and it'd be a good contribution to the community. Okay, that's it.